Let's take a look at how you use the cash flow worksheet on the TI BA2 Plus financial calculator. So this is one version of the BA2 Plus calculator. Your version may look a little different. Over the years they've changed the style a little bit, but what hasn't changed is these keys that I've blown up here so you can see them a little bit better, which do the financial calculations. So the white keys are to calculate time value of money, present value, future value, present value of an annuity. Okay, you'll put in the number of periods, the interest rate, PV, and then you might solve for the future value, etc. In another video, I cover how you use these keys. In this video, I want to focus on the cash flow worksheet, this CF key. So let's take a look at an example of how this will allow you to solve problems more easily. So suppose you have these cash flows, 100 in year 1, 200 in year 2, etc. And you want to know the present value of these four cash flows. What can you do? You can calculate the present value of the first cash flow, so take the present value of the 100, add it to the present value of the 200, etc., all the way out to the final cash flow. Now, you can do that, it works, but every time you calculate the present value, you either have to write it on a piece of paper, because you may forget what that number is, or you can store it in your calculator's memory. And then you calculate the present value of this, and then you'll either write it down, or you could add it to the what you calculated for the present value of this, and then store it again. Right? A little bit tedious. If you use the cash flow worksheet, you don't have to do this. So let me show you the cash flow worksheet. So how do you get this? You get it by hitting the CF key. And I'm going to put a number in here. I just want to show you how you clear the memory. Actually, I have some numbers in here. I have these numbers in here. But I'm going to show you that if you want to clear it, you can't hit the CEC key, because I did, and these numbers are still here. To clear it, you have to hit second, and then above the CEC key, it says CLR work, which means clear the worksheet. Now you can see everything is erased. Okay, they're all cleared. So let's hit the CF key and let's see what happens. When you do this, this will do this calculation for you. So let's put in the cash flow. So CF0 is the cash flow at time period 0. We don't have one in this example. The first cash flow is 100. Let's hit enter. You have to hit enter and see that equal sign to know it's registered in the calculator. Let's go down arrow key. You see F01. What that is, it's the frequency of the first cash flow. There's only one of these, so just leave it at 1. But if there were 3 of these, instead of typing it 3 times, you'd put in 3 and the calculator would know the first 3 cash flows are 100. Second cash flow is 200. Again, hit enter. Let's go down arrow key. Again, frequency is still 1. Third cash flow is 300. Enter. And the final cash flow is 400. Let's hit enter. Let's go down arrow key. You don't really have to. We hit the NPV key. NPV stands for net present value. And in capital budgeting, we have a technique called net present value, where you find the present value of the cash flows and then you subtract out the cost. So usually we assume that the cost is in time period 0, the present. You spent $1 million for the machine, and then you're going to receive certain cash flows over the life of the machine. You put that in as a negative number, and it will subtract it. Actually, it'll add the negative number, and it'll calculate NPV for you. If the NPV is positive, it means these present value of these cash flows is greater than the cost and you're adding value to the firm. If NPV is negative, it means the present value of these cash flows is less than the cost, so you don't want to do the project. All right, let's put in an interest rate. Let's assume 10%. So I'm going to put in 10. Again, you have to hit enter. I'm going to go down arrow key. It's going to calculate NPV for me, and I'm going to hit CPT, compute. And we get $7.54 and 80 cents, let's say. Let's round up. If you want, you can try it for yourself. Calculate the present value of this at 10%, calculate the present value of this, this, and this, and add them up, and you should get this answer. So this is a really nice way to do this calculation. It saves you quite a few steps, and it makes it quite easy to do. What if you're calculating the future value of these cash flows? Suppose you want to know what this is worth in year 4. Okay, after you make all these deposits, after you make the last deposit, we want to know what that's worth in the future. Well, what's the future value equation? Well, this first cash flow is going to grow for 1, 2, 3 years, right? So they're 4 years, but the first cash flow is in year 1, so it's only going to grow for 3 years. 4 minus 1. 200 is going to grow for 2 years. And that last cash flow is going to grow for 0 years. Okay? Anything raised to the 0 power is 1. How do we do that? Well, this version of the financial calculator, which I have, and which you can purchase, is the professional version. It actually has a net future value equation, and I could hit compute and it'll calculate it for me. $1,105.10. All right. So if you took the future value of this, right, 100 times 1.1 raised to the third power plus 200 times 1.1 raised to the second power, right, and then 300 times 1.1 and then add 400, you should get this. If you didn't buy the more expensive version for the calculator, how can you do this? Well, an easy way to do this is simply to find the present value of the cash flows and then just take this out 4 periods, right? If we know what this is worth in year 0, we can just multiply by 1.10 raised to the 4th power and find the future value of it. So let's see, what was our number? 754.80, we said. Actually, I'm going to use these time value of money function keys. To clear that, let's hit second, and above FV it says CLR TVM. So I'm going to say 4 periods. I'm going to say the interest rate is 10%, and then we put in the present value. I've forgotten the present value, so I'm going to check. All right, what was the present value? The present value was 754.80. So let me come back here. Whoops. I'm going to clear that. 754.80, and I'm going to put that in as the PV. All right, just to make sure, let me put these numbers back in here. All right, 4 periods, 10% interest rate. And let's compute the future value, and we get the same number we got before, or roughly the same number. So you can use it to calculate future value for these series of cash flows, okay? Rather than calculating the future value of this and adding it to the future value of this, etc. So that's a little trick you can do. Makes it easier, faster on a test. So I hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching.